Go ahead, Lindsay.
Thank you, Kristen. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. Like I said this afternoon, I'm Lindsay Robertson. I teach at Roosevelt High School in the KMR complex. I am a CBI, community-based instruction teacher. So I'm teaching fully self-contained students, a little bit with more severe disabilities. I just had a couple fun photos, some highlights from, before COVID when we used to be able to go out and do so many fun different things. So a lot of the things I work on with my students, we work on the community aspect of their education. We work on domestic skills. So that's going to be like cooking, cleaning. I also work on their vocational skills. As you can see down here, I have some students sorting some apples in the cafeteria. I have another student that I'm giving a high five. We used to be classroom cleaners at the school. We also work on functional academics and then some leisure. I have a student up here. I bought a big class DJ set. And we love to have dance parties for our leisure time. And then, like I said, a lot of our curriculum is focused on skills to learn in the community. So some places that we've been, we went to Buco de Beppo, we go to Ala Moana. We work on different skills like ordering at restaurants, different transactional skills, things like that. Just those skills that are going to make my students more independent as they transition into their adulthood, since I do teach the high school, the level of students are ages between 14 and up till 22 till they graduate out, and they're certificate track. So I know we have folks in here who are diploma track, but I am a certificate track. So yep, that's a little bit about me. I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit later. Thanks.
So my name is Evelyn Gomez. I am from the Baldwin P. Maui complex area. Maui High School, we self-contained Syrian. And at the high school level, we're still working schedules. We're working on job skills, employable skills. And here we have some pictures of my students working hard and having fun. And of course, is me with my picture from graduation from the UH Manila when I got my master's. And yes, I'm also excited to talk.
Okay, first off, welcome to our guest who joined us. My name is Brandon Moises. I am a teacher here at Waimea High School for the District of Kauai. I currently serve as the department chair for our special education department. And I also am privileged, and probably the best part of my day is teaching my section of career and life planning, which used to be our work study program. And our partnership with the DVR, the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Pictures here kind of sum up what I do here at Waimea High School. My big role involves the transition of our students. I tend to work more with the upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, both diploma and certificate route students. Build partnerships, get them out in the community, job placements. And all of a sudden, Bixby decides to go off as I talk, so excuse that. But I also enjoy coaching. So a lot of the why I'm a special education teacher here at the high school level is because I believe in that underdog theory. I believe in the idea that we can take these kids, get them to the next level, see them become successful. I probably teach at one of the smaller high schools in the state, which gives that underdog theory a lot more zest when we go after things as far as athletics and just in general, the idea that they can come from a small setting and make big splashes in the world. That's what we try to preach. Yeah, so I'm very glad that we have guests today. I hope we can answer your guys' questions, and I welcome you guys.
Hi, I'm Sean Whitwer. Thank you, Russell and Sean and all those on the internet watching and joining us. I am a special education math teacher at Farrington High School. And I became a teacher just because of a kind of like a lifelong desire to make a difference in young people's lives. When I was in high school, my parents moved away to the mainland. And so I became a boarder at Kamimel and it was really hard being away from family and parents and whatnot. And a lot of my other friends obviously had families and whatnot. So Mr. Farm and some other people made a difference in my life, and were kind of like a dad to me when I was in high school. And so I wanted to try to give back to young people the way some of them gave back to me. And so part of it was a lifelong desire to kind of, give back. And then part of it was, chance and circumstance. I didn't even, I grew up in private education, and I didn't even know special education was a thing, honestly. And, while playing basketball at the YMCA on a Saturday, one of my friends told me, "Hey, why don't you go check out, this program?" It was called Rise back in 1999, which was respecialization in special education. And so I was like, "What is that?" And so he goes, "Well, you got a chance to become a teacher." So actually, I came in through the back door into special education, and I'm very thankful that I was able to go into high school, because that's where I wanted to serve and work. And so, in my slide, I have a number of different pictures that kind of mean a lot to me, and I also could find it on my computer. But with my students in my math class, I really like to try to get them to use technology in the class and to learn new skills. So one of the things I like to do a lot is to have my students demonstrate their math learning and what they're doing in class. And, one of the things I believe is that you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. And so um, I appreciate, my students, giving them an opportunity to, film themselves and do videos. And so I have pictures over there of my different students doing different steps of the process. And uh, in the bottom, there was a picture of, uh, Hawaii News Now coming to our classroom and filming us with Steve Uehara. And I also included a picture of the Model Schools Conference when Farrington High School went up to the mainland, because I believe it's really important to give back to education and the profession. And we don't have to, as teachers, just wait for our leaders to do everything and lead from the top down. I believe that you can lead from the bottom up too. And if you have a great idea, and you run with it, it can inspire other people. So I was really happy to speak with some other teachers at that conference in, well, actually Florida, which is that picture. I didn't speak, but just, being able to speak in Washington, D.C., and just kind of give back to the profession. So, um, yeah.
Hi. Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for spending a part of your Friday with us. We are just as thrilled to have you here as you might be to be here. But my name is Lena Alakialoha. I am a math inclusion special education teacher on the island of Kauai. I've got 3 years of teaching under my belt, 8 years total in the DOE. I started as an EA, and that's what boosted me into SPED and wanting to become a teacher, working with these students and just seeing, like, like Lindsay was saying, that moment when they shine. And I think we were talking about it earlier, just those moments where you see them succeed and you see them be proud of themselves. That's something that's just addicting to me, and I love seeing that. And I love seeing that confidence that they gain and carry on through their high school career. So why high school? I chose high school because I feel like that's a crucial period of influence and habit building that is just as crucial as an infant soaking up new information. And I feel like if we can catch them in high school and build those good habits, be a positive influence to them, just like Sean said he had in his high school experience, same thing with me, then we're setting up ourselves, we're setting up the world and the society for success, versus one that it might be foundationed on a lack of confidence or learned helplessness that we often see in our students, that is just so falsified. They have no idea what they're capable of. And so my passion lies in boosting their confidence and showing them, hey man, you're capable of whatever it is you want to achieve. So thank you. I don't want to say much because, like I said, I'm thrilled for you guys to be here, and I want to just be able to give you whatever information you want and what you want to hear from us. So thank you again and welcome.
Aloha, I'm Jessie and I live on Molokai. I teach special education English. I have been on Molokai for a long time, longer than I have been teaching, and I was coaching for a long time with the high school, and actually was hired as an emergency hire. So I come from a line of teachers, but I wasn't like seeking it out at the time. It kind of found me, and I wasn't necessarily seeking out special education either. But I have really enjoyed it. Teaching English has been very interesting for me because I love languages, and learning about how we learn and process words and how we can like learn to think about things by identifying them through vocabulary and language has been really interesting, especially working with kids that like may not have like a super well developed vocabulary and therefore may not have even like considered certain things in their experience. So it's thought-provoking for me. I like to teach through inquiry. So just like learning alongside students. And we've done a lot of fun projects that they've taught me a lot. And I also, I've coached a lot of the students that I ended up teaching afterwards. So like you see the different levels of talent in different areas, and how to I guess like find your place in like society as a school, and then like how that will translate for high school students into adulthood. Yeah, so it's been rewarding. I've also taught inclusion, and that's been really fun too, working with other teachers in the classroom, and you know, translating students from a resource setting into an inclusion setting. And I think high school is a really awesome place to be. Kind of like Lena said, it's a time where you can influence some, you know, curious minds about like what's happening in their life, what's going to happen next, what happens after high school, what happens if you leave Molokai, you know, what kind of levels of confidence I can impart on kids that may not be sure how they fit into the rest of the world. So yeah, I don't know, I'm curious to hear everybody's questions, and I've been very honored to work with this group of people in the SPEDucator Fellowship. I've learned a lot from all of them as well. So, mahalo.
So the first question is, why high school? I know some of you addressed it a little bit while you shared. We can maybe start with some of the others that didn't address this question yet, and then kind of just have it be an open discussion. So share why you decided to pursue teaching special education at the high school level.
I can go first if that's okay. So high school kind of just picked me. I was a skills trainer first, and they placed me at a middle school, and then they placed me at a high school, and it ended up being the perfect spot for me. I loved the classroom. It was an FSC classroom, and I just really enjoyed everything that came with it. You know, I liked being around the high school kids. I felt like a lot of the kids in the classroom kind of got past that peak of behaviors as well, so it was a little easier to manage, and just so much of it appealed to me. Plus, I love to dance, and I was able to put that in there for me. I started a dance group, and it just kind of all fell into place for me. So high school is what it is for me. I heard lots of people say elementary is awesome, but that's just not where my heart is.
I can go next. Mine's kind of similar to Evelyn. I did not start as a skills trainer, but I did start as an elementary school teacher. And I remember on my first day of teaching, all the little ones came in and I froze. I didn't even know how to talk to them or what to say to them. So I think through that year, I realized, oh, maybe the little ones aren't for me. So I made quite the jump to high school. And kind of like Evelyn said, I felt like I could really have those conversations with them and treat them like the adults, the young adults that they are. And also, I'm pretty young myself, so it's nice to have that like relationship in terms of I feel like I can relate to what they're going through and what they're feeling in a lot of different ways. And I truly, like I said, I feel like I'm most myself when I'm with my older students as well, not so much the little ones. And then the biggest thing too is I'm receiving a lot of my students who are in their last leg of school before they exit into adulthood and transition out. And I feel like this is also a really pivotal time for a lot of my students. So I work really hard to get them prepared for their adult life, since a lot of the times I'm teaching life skills and vocational skills to make them be more independent individuals. So I'm really getting them ready for their lives after high school. And I like having that power and that ability to have that effect on them as high schoolers.
I'll go next. For me, I wouldn't want to be any other level but high school level. I'm so happy I'm at the high school level because I personally believe that high school teachers have the biggest impact and influence on the students' lives. If you look at the graduation rates, for example, in special education in the DOE, I believe it's that only 59% of the students in special education graduate on time within 4 years. At our high school, it was 54% last year, which basically means, in my opinion, only 1 out of every 2 special education students graduate on time. And so I believe that we really have at the high school level an opportunity to like make or break their futures, their lives, their educations. And, I, at my high school, I teach freshmen through seniors, but I believe that teachers that especially work with the freshmen make the biggest impact and difference on the direction of their lives. Because if you teach a junior or senior, you're not going to make a huge impact if their grades were low freshman or sophomore year. But when you can make a big impact, especially on freshmen, and you can get them on the right track in high school and set that good foundation, they're going to do good in high school. And there's going to be a lot more opportunities available after high school. So I personally believe in the model schools idea that you should always put your best teachers at the freshman level in high school and really connect the students. So if you're thinking about high school or different, levels or whatever, I think high school is definitely the place to be in and where you can make the biggest impact on their future.
Yeah, I can build on what Sean said. I also teach 9 through 12, and it's been really cool to have an arc, at a smaller school to like have the same students for a 4-year period, because then like you really get an opportunity to tailor to their learning curves, I guess. And I've had I've had students, and one in particular, a couple years, asked me if he wasn't good at school, would he have a place in like life afterwards? And like I totally saw him as like a leader and very talented, super social kid. And I think by the time he graduated, like we had been, because he was able to ask the question, we were able to find the answer for him. And he since is like, he's on the mainland now, and he's working in a rehab center with other youth and like doing some really cool stuff. And that, I think that's the kind of impact that like all of us are really excited about in high school. I also really like having the conversations with high school age kids. Like Lindsay was saying, like little kids are not my bag. They're emotional and not rational, and I don't know how to deal with them either. So high school is really cool.
But this is the next question. How much time do you spend writing and implementing quality IEPs? What resources do you use to create meaningful IEP goals?
Brandon?
I love that is. So to our guests, we were not given a script as to what we were going to be asked, but looking at this, you can see all our smiles already. we invest, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I can tell you that we invest a lot of time making sure we write and implement quality IEPs. I think writing may not be the correct word, but implementing part, we do it on a daily. Our resources are our fellow teachers, our observations, parents, EAs, counselors, the whole IEP team. That's who we use as resources when writing our goals. The student itself is probably the key piece, the driving force at the high school level when we start talking about transition goals and what they want to do, and like how Sean and Jesse said, following them for 4 years. I'm not sure how other schools do it, but what we do is our index teachers have them all 4 years. We don't trade off grade levels. So they'll start with them as freshmen and get to see their growth for 4 years. And that IEP that comes in from the 8th grade, by the time it's a senior year IEP, has changed so much as far as goals, objectives, transition plans, agencies who are there to help. So I want to say you spend as much time writing IEPs as you do adjusting lesson plans.
I had an interesting conversation with one of the new teachers today at school. This one gentleman who's new to our department was actually an EA previously and is going through a program right now to become a special education teacher. And I was asking him just how his year in review was, and he mentioned something interesting. He said if he could go back to like before or last year or his time as an EA, he wished he spent more time, attending IEP meetings with the teacher that he was working with beforehand to learn more about the process, because it's so involved. It's such a big part of your job when you finally become one. And he didn't realize that it was so, involved, and he didn't feel like he was adequately prepared for that aspect. So I thought that was kind of interesting because writing and implementing IEPs is such a big part of your job, obviously.
I would like to give some credit to the other teachers and the teams that we work with to develop plans for students, especially at the high school. Like sometimes you'll have a student that you don't see that much during the day, especially like, say like I'm a resource teacher at the moment, resource setting teacher. And so like some of the kids that are on my case list might be, more on the gen ed track with their classes. And so there's a lot of really awesome input into the IEP goals that comes from the other teachers that they see throughout the day and throughout the year, and to like combine our different levels of expertise to dial it down to like, what is the next step for the student on their path to like post-high school plans. What is it that they need to develop in language skills and math skills, and depending on their disability. So yeah, so definitely a collaborative effort.
I can add a little bit too. I think a huge component too in implementing and writing a good IEP is having an effective data collection system or method that you use. Because what's cool about that is if you have a good system in place, then when you're writing, the IEP for the student, that same student, if their annual's coming up or something, you can look back at data and see, okay, this is what we need to continue to work on. And you can add that and continue to work on that on the IEP. And then you can see, oh, these are things that they've mastered, and these are things that we can add as strengths rather than needs. I think that as soon as you have something like that set in place, it will save you a lot of time too when it comes to writing them. Obviously, implementing is a whole nother process, but it'll save you time when you're writing them.
What types of people do you collaborate with, and how much time do you spend collaborating with others?
I can talk a little bit about this. Once again, I teach the CBI classroom, so kids with a little bit more severe needs. So a lot of collaboration time is spent with the IEP team. So and then service providers. So we're talking, OTs, PTs, the speech, the more recent behavior analysts that are coming in now, all those types of people that are a part of the team. Of course, then too, within the school level, it's really awesome to collaborate with your fellow special ed teachers as well, whether they're in the same department as you. Like I collaborate a lot with one of my other CBI teachers, and then also with other SPED teachers as well, but mostly within my department. Those are great resources also too to tap into, especially when you're writing IEPs. Just kind of tie back to that last question. But yeah, I think collaboration is a huge part of being a special education teacher. Really, I think it truly is, because we wear so many hats and we work with so many other people. Other than it's just not just us; it's a team.
In my class, I collaborate with a number of different people. Obviously, I collaborate with the other special education math teacher in my department. I have an EA that I work with. At our school level, we have an NTP group where teachers collaborate with each other and meet together once a week. Not so much during COVID, but we used to, especially before COVID hit. But to kind of add value to Russell and what he was mentioning earlier, one of the other things that I do that's kind of non-traditional is I actually collaborate with one of my students. I have a senior that comes in and tutors with some of my freshman students in my period 4. And she was in the Teachers Academy throughout high school. And then as a junior, they sometimes go out to elementary schools. But instead of doing that, I asked the Teachers Academy if she could come and work with my students, because I believe we need a lot more help and assistance, especially in the area of math with students in high school. And so one of the things that I would actually like my school to do more of, and I'm hoping to build more collaboration with the Teachers Academy. I really want our Teachers Academy to see the need that the special education students have. And I'm hoping that in the future I can get more of them to come work with my students in my classroom, because they need one-to-one, but we just don't have one-to-one for every single student. But if I can get the best and the brightest from the Teachers Academy to, collaborate, and then also let them know, hey, this is actually an occupation and a career that might be good at, and you might be able to do this in the future. And so that kind of turned on one of my students, Nicole, into the field of special education. And so she actually wants to become one now because of her experience working in my class with my students. So I want to add value in that area with you, Russell.
Yes, in addition, there's like so many people, like everybody that just listens, I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But some of the people I really collaborate with beside, like parents is like a big one for me. I used to be scared about calling home. Like, I don't want to bother people. But I've gotten a lot better at developing relationships, especially with the students that are on my case list. And when I have a lot of parental input and support in the process, we've had a lot of success. And then the other people I really collaborate a lot with at my school is the student services coordinator and the behavioral health specialist. Some students that dealing with trauma and some things that have happened in their lives that have made it difficult for them to participate well in class, or have behaviors that get in the way of their learning. And so that partnership has been really helpful for me in making sure that I'm aligned with the behavior support plan and things like that.
Okay, so what do you do to run a highly effective special education classroom? How do you maintain productive collaborations?
So I'll start this off. What do you do to run a highly effective SPED classroom? So that comes back to getting to know your students. It's effective when you take the time to build a relationship with them, know what works for them, what doesn't work, being able to read a lot of their nonverbal cues, understanding where they're coming from. It really does, it all comes down to building that relationship with them, because of course there's the scientific side about collecting your data and doing your pacing guides and all of these things, but without that relationship that you build with the kids, the positive relationship, you can have all the data in the world, all the science in the world, and all of the interventions and specific specially designed instruction, but if you don't have a relationship with that kid, honestly, I don't see it being effective. Doesn't matter. How do you maintain productive collaborations? So I'm not sure if you mean with the teachers or with the students, but, and I don't mean to sound redundant, but it does come back to relationships and communication. So every day when I teach with my inclusion teacher, once again, I'm a math inclusion teacher, every day at the end of class, we debrief. How did it go? What would we do different? What did you like? What should we keep? How will we adjust next class? Do we need to reteach something? So productively collaborating with your right-hand man, whoever you're co-teaching with. If you mean with students, productive collaborations, same thing, relationship building, letting them know that you respect them, letting them know that they're in a safe environment. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to ask questions, and fostering any type of encouragement and confidence building that you can. So relationships is everything in SPED. With no matter who you talk to, who you're collaborating with, it's all about relationships. Even if it's parents, admin, your colleagues, the custodian, doesn't matter.
I agree 100% with what Lena said. You know, relationships are so important. Um, you know, I love what one of the world's leading experts on grit talks about. You know, Angela Duckworth. You know, in her book Grit, she talks about having passion and perseverance for long-term goals. And so I believe that, you know, some of the qualities you need as a special education teacher is you need to have passion, because, you know, being a special education teacher is not easy. I mean, I've taught both in regular education and in special education, and it's, in my opinion, it's way tougher being a special education teacher. And so you got to know why you're doing it. You got to know your why. You got to have that passion and that drive, or else you're going to burn out, which leads to the second one. You got to have perseverance, because, you know, people don't stay in the profession in general that long because of the obstacles, the challenges, you know, the emotional, you know, drain. You know, our students, you know, encounter a lot of failure in school. They go through a lot of shame in school because of who they are and what they've gone through. And so that sometimes, you know, rests on your shoulders too, and you pick up on that. And so, you know, you got to come, I believe, to be effective, you got to come up with strategies on, you know, how can I do this for long term? How can I, you know, how can I last for a career? And so I think you got to have that passion, that perseverance. And as a teacher, like Lena said, is you really got to develop that warmth with your students. You want your class to be a safe space and an inviting place that, you know what, you're not going to be judged here. You know, we're here because, you know, we want to help you succeed. So we have that warmth, that inviting classroom built on relationships, but we also have that high expectations that we try to deliver with our students. And so relationships, if you don't know how to build a good relationship, then I think you're going to fan out really quickly. And so how can we build those relationships, and how can we get the students collaborating? You know, I love some of the lessons in the pictures that Lena had. I mean, you can tell that the students are collaborating, they're doing their math on their tables, and they're working in groups. And that's the kind of fun class you want to be in. And everybody in this group does those kinds of activities to build that warmth, those relationships.
Okay, so who do you go to for guidance?
All 20 people you guys are going to meet tonight that are calling themselves educators. But not on a more serious note, my mentor teachers, my and seriously, this group of people that you guys are meeting tonight on this SPEDucator panel, the ideas, the visions are all common amongst ourselves. The passion, just listening to each other on a Friday night after a long week with the same sentiments, it motivates you for Monday to let you know, hey, you're not alone in this quest to see students with needs be successful. At the school level, my SSC was my original department head. So she came back from district. That's who I turned to for guidance. My EAs, who have been there before me, they're the eyes and ears, not only of the school, but of the community. So I kind of know what's happening with my students outside of campus, which will affect them on campus. So they're my guidance as far as how we approach situations, how we build the relationships, like Sean and Lena said, with the students. How do we motivate them? These are the people that I turn to daily for guidance. And it helps. It helps. It helps on those days where you feel like you wearing the same label as your student, where as a special ed teacher, you feel like you being put in this category amongst the rest of your faculty. So to have a group of people with that same vision, with that same compassion that can help guide you, these are the people you turn to.
For me, I kind of go to two different groups of people. One of the people, one of the people that I go to for guidance when I have a question that I can't figure out is, and I'm thankful I can, is my principal, Carganilla. Um, I'm thankful that I can text him up and say, hey, I got a question that I want to talk to you. Can I come down and talk to you? So um, I'm thankful that I have built that relationship, and he believes in trust and empowerment and collaboration, and so I'm thankful for that. But when I need guidance too, I oftentimes go to my students. um, like when I'm thinking about an idea, I'll call some of my best students oftentimes, like, hey, what do you think about this? Is it a good idea? It's not so good. I mean, so I think that a lot of times the answers are in the classroom. And sometimes my students give me the best advice, I think, and I'm like, wow, I didn't feel like that before, but you're really making me think in that direction before, and so I oftentimes go to my students for advice of ideas that I'm thinking about for my classroom.